Amitake api, ampete gile lila washte, na lila iokpia wochicha kapelo, wakotia hechaka chik ala toka akon ionke emachapelo ash, washichia David Little Elk emachapelo, ina itazicho oyate hetoha, na atesi chango oyate hetoha, yuha chante washte na betchi you zapelo. Welcome, everyone. I greet you as relatives. Today is a really good day, and I'm really happy to be here to talk to all of you. In the Lakota way, I am called Little Elk running over the enemy, but in the English language, I am called David Little Elk. My mother is from the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, and my father is from the Rosebud Sioux tribe. And I shake all your hands from my heart. Most Indians cannot speak their own language. If you cannot speak your own language, you do not know the perspective of your culture because the perspective requires the language of that culture. Let me say that again. A culture's perspective requires to speak fluently the language of that culture. So there are some non-native people that they know the Lakota perspective because they can speak Lakota frequently. I have some students like that. Yeah, they're non-native, and they're some of them are fluent, and some of them are getting there. They talk to each other in Lakota. Yeah, so and as they're learning this, they're learning the perspective. So these non-native students, they know the Lakota perspective, and there's Lakota people that don't even know it because these Lakota people refuse to learn their own language. I once heard a Cree woman say something very powerful. It's one of the most powerful things I've ever heard in my life. This Cree woman, she's a Cree language teacher. And she said, if you as a native person refuse the opportunities around you to learn your language, then you are responsible for the death of your language. That is 100% correct. So I always get down on all these native people who really think, that Indians are different, that Indians are better. That's racism. I get down on them because it's racism. And then I say to them, you know what? If you could speak your tribal language, you probably wouldn't think like that. And they get mad at me. And they get offended. And they say, being native is a state of mind. That's bullshit. Being native requires that you speak fluently the language of your nation. If you can't do that, then who the hell are you? Yeah, biologically, DNA wise, you're native. Yeah, but you don't speak your language. If you don't speak your language, you don't think like a native. You don't feel it. And your spirituality is not there either. That's how important the language is. You're just a Western thinking individual. And along with that comes racism. And I'll explain all of this, okay? Don't worry. So that's why I'm a very strong advocate of Native people learning their language so they regain that perspective. And the most important reason why is for their descendants. I wrote this on my timeline. I know a German woman, a white German woman, because there's a lot of Turkish people here. Yeah, they're about 20% of the German population is Turkish, and then there's Italians and Greeks and Spanish and French and British and Americans all here too. So I have to say, white German. I know a white German who has children from a Lakota father. And this woman, she's about my age. She's learning Lakota language for her children, for herself, because she appreciates it and she loves the language and culture, but mostly for her children. So their descendants can still have the language. See, she's not even Lakota, but her children are part Lakota. So that means her descendants are going to be Lakota. She wants her descendants to have the language, so she's learning it for them. Her husband passed away several years ago, and he was teaching the children too the language. But after he passed away, she made an extra effort to learn it for her children, for her grandchildren, for her descendants. That I really admire. That shows courage. That shows fortitude. That's compassion. That's bravery. That's generosity. That's wisdom. That's all the Lakota virtues right there in her act. So she knows the perspective for her children, her grandchildren, and her descendants. It, it, I just don't understand why Native people refuse to learn it. Instead, they make up excuses and they say, "Well, it's what's important is to me is the culture, it's the state of mind." No, it's not. The culture is nothing without the language. Language and culture go together. They need each other. Both are important for establishing identity. If you don't have one of them, your identity is incomplete. Then who are you? See what I mean? So that's always my argument, and older natives really get angry. Oh, that offended me, and how dare he say I'm not native, and the native is a state of mind. And one lady said, you know what? I heard the first language was silence. Hey, come on, just sitting there. How the hell do we talk to each other? We have an expression called mitake oyasing. That means everything is connected, everything is related. And to nurture that requires speaking. So I don't believe silence is the first language. Absolutely not. That's bullshit. Yeah? If you want anything in this world, you got to communicate somehow. We are not mind readers. So that means we have to communicate. It's very important. When you learn how to speak Lakota, you learn to live a life of humility, and then you see that we're not better than anybody. We are part of creation, and we need each other to exist. So if you say you're a chosen race or you're better than others, you're putting yourself above others. That's the same thing the Christians do. You're just being another version of Christianity. Yeah? So we're not about that at all. We're about being part of nature. That we learn to live with nature. And to do that requires a language. And if you're native, then you should learn your native language. If you want to follow your native ways, then that includes learning your native language. And today, in this 21st century, there's lots of opportunities.